Guys, Will Mitchell here. We have the third video in our comparative analysis series. If you haven't already, check out the comparative analysis on Roatan, Honduras, the one we just put out on Mexico and Playa del Carmen. Today, we're going to talk about Costa Rica and Belize. As always, we're going to compare some of the categories we have historically compared in these videos. So we're going to talk about taxes, residency, ownership rights, investment opportunity, and really break it down for you guys. I'm sure a lot of you watching, you're definitely considering looking at Belize as an investment or relocation potential spot, but you might also be looking at Costa Rica, you might be comparing. So we want to help you guys by trying to break down some of the stats that helped us choose Belize. Now, as always, I like to tell you guys, even though you know this, I'm obviously biased to Belize. I love Belize with all my heart, and I live in Belize, I invest in Belize, but we're trying to be as unbiased as humanly possible. But you know, we got to point that out to you guys, even though you know that. So without further ado, let's get into it again. Just to kick things off, high level facts. As always, I'm sure you guys are aware of a lot of these, but we'll just break down the very basic facts. So many of you already know Belize is an English speaking country, contrary to Costa Rica, which is a Spanish speaking country. Now, there are people who do speak English around Costa Rica. It's not, you know, something that's uncommon to find, but the official language is Spanish. So when you're going to see legal documentation, that documentation will be in Spanish, whereas in Belize, all your legal documentation, medical professionals, you're going to be dealing with them in English. It's a British common law system. Costa Rica is a Napoleonic civil law system. The population differential in Belize, we're the fourth lowest densely populated country in the Western Hemisphere with an approximate population of 389,000, contrary to Costa Rica, which has an approximate population of about 5 million based on a 2019 census. We have a currency that's pegged 2-to-1 to the US dollar, as opposed to Costa Rica, which has their own currency, the Costa Rica colon. I might have said that incorrectly. If I did, I'm really sorry, Costa Rica. The inflation rate in Belize is 0.9% as of 2020, and contrasting that to Costa Rica, it's about 2.3% inflation in Costa Rica as of 2020. So just the high level facts to kick things off here. Got all my notes to make sure I get the Costa Rica facts right for you guys and I don't get anything incorrect here. If you guys do have questions or other locations, make sure you're putting them in the comments, just to keep in mind that we are trying to do the locations you guys are suggesting. So let's get into everybody's favorite topic, taxes. So taxes in Belize, we've gone over a lot in most of our videos. There's no estate tax, there's no capital gains tax. Corporate tax is taxed at a rate of 3%. What else can I tell you guys? On rental income, it's taxed depending on if it's a nightly rental or monthly rental. If it's a nightly rental, the hotel tax rate is 9%. Property taxes are extremely low here. Transfer tax is 5 to 8%, depending on who owns the property, how the property is owned. So it is a T7 tax haven. There's a tremendous amount of tax advantages in Belize. And when you're maneuvering, doing business and investing here, it's a great climate for investing from a tax standpoint. In Costa Rica, rental income is taxed at a rate of 10 to 25%. Capital gains tax is taxed at a flat rate of 30%. Estate tax is 1 to 2%. Corporate business tax is taxed at a rate of 30%. Property taxes are taxed at a rate of 0.25%. Transfer tax at 1.5%. And also you have your resident tax applied to worldwide income. So there is a tax if you are a Costa Rican resident and you're earning income outside of Costa Rica, which you would have to pay. So overall, the tax landscape, it's a lot more investor friendly and owner friendly, business friendly within the country of Belize than it is in Costa Rica. So when you contrast the taxes, there's advantages in each category, but when you break them down, most of the advantages are in Belize's favor. Rental income, capital gains, estate tax, corporate tax, property tax, resident tax, which we don't have. The only advantage that's very much clear cut is the transfer tax, which is lower in Costa Rica. So let's move on to our next category, guys, ownership rights. And this is the foundation of any investment you're gonna make anywhere in the world. I don't like to even look at a market if it has weak ownership rights. If there's any type of political uncertainty, weak ownership rights, any potential for my investment to have a high level of risk on the ownership level standpoint, I just don't even want to look at that. So Belize, as you guys know, British common law, full foreign ownership, same ownership rights as a local are afforded to a foreigner. You can have your name, you can have your company, whether it's a US LLC, an IBC, regardless of what it is, you can have that entity on the title of the property. You get a physical copy of your title, and all titles are actually insured by the Crown, by the government. It's a novel concept that, you know, they produce the titles. They should make sure that they're providing the right information and everything. So in general, you don't really even need title insurance in Belize. That's something that's more prominent in the US. You look at most Canadians, generally they're not too familiar with title insurance either. In Costa Rica, however, also one of the unique things about this, it is a Napoleonic civil law country, but foreigners do have ownership rights in Costa Rica. So it's something that's unique and really fantastic about owning in Costa Rica. The thing that we really like to break down beyond that is, what are the squatter rights? And is it a pro-tenant environment or is it a pro-landlord environment? What we found in Belize is it has very, very weak squatter rights. To even have a potential claim to a property in Belize, you would have to squat in it for approximately 30 years, and you'd still have to go through litigations and processes to lay claim to that property, as opposed to Costa Rica, which has much better squatting rights. It's a pro-tenant landscape. So when you're looking at a real estate investment, obviously you want to make sure you're making an investment where the landlord has strong rights, and you know, you're not going to have a concern if you go abroad and someone squats on your property that you're going to lose it. So let's talk about residency, guys. You're thinking about moving somewhere. Can you go there? How long can you stay for? What do you have to do? Can I work? You got all these questions about relocating. Let's break those down for you. In Belize, you can come into the country on your tourist visa. So when you enter the country, they stamp you. They're issuing you a 30-day tourism visa. That visa can be renewed in perpetuity at the immigration office, which on this island, the island of Ambergris Caye, is located right above, across the street from Tropicare, above from one of our RE/MAX offices, RE/MAX Island Real Estate. And you can do that. It's a $200 per month fee. You can renew that as long as you like. Depending on what type of profession you want to get into, you can apply. We're getting notes flying everywhere. You can apply for a work permit. So if you're doing a job that a local Belizean couldn't do, if you're bringing some special skill set to the market, then it's going to be a lot easier to get a work permit here, because they do want to see jobs for the locals as well. But if you're opening a business, there's no limitations to that, because that's creating more jobs. So it really depends on what type of job you're looking to get. But from a standpoint of how long can you stay, you can stay as long as you like. Once you've been here for a year, with the exception of 14 days you can exit, then you can apply to be a permanent resident. That's the traditional path to permanent residency in Belize. The alternative path is the temporary residency program, in which you invest $250,000, and every year you have to show that you've maintained that investment. So basically, they want to see that you haven't sold that asset, gotten your temporary residency, and made the claim that you're a resident. You have to maintain that investment to keep that residency. So there's three types of residency in Costa Rica that you can get as a foreigner. So there's residency as an investor, which is when you've invested $200,000 or more into assets, real estate, cars, whatever it may be. That's the first path. The second path is residency as a renter. They call this rentista, when the foreign citizen receives a minimum monthly income of $2,500 for a term of at least 2 years. And the third option is residency as retired, which is when the foreign citizen receives a monthly pension or retirement income of at least $1,000 for life. So you have a few different options there to obtain residency. It is more difficult to obtain a work permit in Costa Rica. You do need to have residency before obtaining that work permit, whereas in Belize, it's actually quite the opposite. One of the paths to being here long term would be to get a work permit, and you can stay longer, so you do not need residency. So in our little final comparison here, you'll see that investment residency is a little higher in Belize at $250,000. Foreigners can easily obtain a work permit in Belize. It's a little more difficult in Costa Rica. Both have great retirement programs. Belize has the QRP program. Costa Rica has some great alternatives, as well as becoming a resident through their retirement program. And tourism and naturalized residency is easy in Belize, and it's a little more difficult in Costa Rica. So both have their advantages there. Let's move into the cost of living here, guys. In Belize, we often get the question, what's the cost of living like? And that really depends on what type of goods you're consuming, what your day-to-day activity is. It's It's kind of like asking how long a piece of string is. It really depends on the piece of string, but I can give you some of the important little tidbits to note. When things get expensive, it's really when they're being imported into the country. There's higher import duties. Also, if you're on the island of Ambergris Caye, it's important to note you're on an island, so supplies do need to be barged in, which adds another layer of expenses for any business that's going to be selling those. With that said, domestically produced, fruits, veggies, goods, you're gonna see that they're usually a little bit more affordable than what you would find in the US or in Canada. Whereas imported goods, like if you gotta get your mac and cheese, it's gonna be more expensive than what you would find in Canada or the US, because they have to pay import duties on that, and then they have to get it over to the island. So it really depends on what type of things you're consuming. Consumer price index in Costa Rica is about 5.78% lower than in Belize. Just to give you some of the quick bullet points on their price index. Restaurant prices in Costa Rica in general are 21.87% higher than in Belize. Grocery prices in Costa Rica are 5.41% lower. Big reason for that is probably because they're not shipping to the island. They have lower import duties in a lot of cases. And the local purchasing power in Costa Rica is 18.42% lower than in Belize. Part of that is because of their currency and the way that's structured. All right, guys, let's talk about accessibility to the two countries, which is easier to get to. And there's a few advantages to Belize, there's a few advantages to Costa Rica. The primary advantage to Costa Rica is that they have two international airports. So Costa Rica has international airports that are located in Juan Santa Maria International Airport in San Jose and Daniel Oduber International Airport in Liberia, as opposed to Belize, which has one international airport located in Belize City, which is the Philip Goldson International Airport. The advantage to Belize, it's closer to the US, closer to Canada than Costa Rica, so the flight time is significantly less. You guys are probably aware that Belize is located just south of Mexico, so when you're going from the US, it's really from Miami about an hour-and-a-half flight, Houston about a 2-hour flight, really very close to the US. So that's kind of a big advantage there. Also, the land transportation, you can access Belize via Mexico, which I do frequently if I'm going up to Playa, Cancun, Tulum. I'll just drive my car across the border and drive back. So you do have a really easy access point to go to Mexico there. So you do have a really easy access point to Mexico there. So it's kind of a split wash between the two on flights and accessibility. They both have their advantages. Let's talk about tourism, guys. Tourism is a huge factor in your rental return. It's a huge factor in if your lifestyle change is about being somewhere that's less busy, more busy. This is going to be a factor there. So we're going to talk about this more from an investment standpoint and talk about the recovery from COVID, talk about the tourism numbers and do a little bit of a contrast here for you guys. So just to start, high-level tourism data according to each country's tourism board. So in 2019, Belize saw 1.67 million total tourist arrivals. So 500,000 approximately of those were overnight tourist arrivals, which means they're arriving by plane. The cumulative total is about 1.6 million. That includes people arriving by land or by sea, cruise ships, stuff like that. In Costa Rica, they have a larger volume of total tourists. It's just over 3 million total tourists in 2019, 873,000 of which arrived by air. Now, what's interesting is the annual tourism growth, which is the net change in tourism year over year, has grown at a rate of 4.1% in 2019, contrasted to Belize, which grew at a rate of 14.6%. So you're probably aware of this around the US. Belize is really just getting on people's maps. More people are becoming aware of Belize and seeing what it is. So the tourism industry here is growing at a faster rate, whereas Costa Rica has a larger tourism industry. Next up, I want to contrast the year-over-year tourism data, and we can put these graphs up for you guys to review. What's very interesting to note here is the recovery for Belize tourism in COVID. If you guys look, you can see 2020 numbers were an absolute disaster in both countries. I'm sure many of you can guess why that was. So the year we want to look at is 2021. So in 2021, you'll see that the Belize tourism has actually almost gotten back on par to what we were seeing in 2019, which is a smooth recovery, while 2021 Costa Rica tourism is at about 75% of where it was and still has a ways to go to really complete a full recovery. It's getting there fast, but the Belize tourism industry has recovered at an astonishing rate. We're kind of seeing what's going on with this Delta variant now. We don't really know what's going to happen in either country. All we can do is take the data, estimate on our best, what we can take our best guess really. But according to the historical data right now, Belize's tourism industry is recovering at a faster pace. So to kind of give you the net sum here, Costa Rica has a larger tourism industry that's spread across more cities, more destinations, as opposed to Belize, which has a faster growing tourism industry that's spread across less destinations. So when you're looking at rental income now, this is a good transition. We have two markets. As always, the market we hold up for Belize, Ambergris Caye, which is where we're on right now. And for Costa Rica, we took San Jose. So the data that we've pulled for these two places show that there's 400 active Airbnb rentals, actually 397 in Ambergris Caye, contrary to San Jose, which has 936 active rentals. You'll see that the spread of units in Ambergris Caye, as we discussed, is heavily 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, studio, some 3 bedrooms. And you see something pretty similar actually in San Jose's market. So diving into some of the stats here on room rates, Ambergris Caye's room rate hovers about 3 times higher than what San Jose's room rate does. In general, people vacationing there, they're more of a discount traveler looking to get a better room rate. The average daily room rate on 3 bedroom is even more than that. So there's a wide spread on the ADR in both cases, whether it's large home or small home. From an occupancy standpoint, they hover fairly close around the 60% rate annualized, ranging in some cases going down to 40, up to 80. So it is variable there. We'll put all these graphs up so you guys can see the physical data there. And then of course, the key factor, which is rental revenue. And I'm not going to just, read the numbers out for you. You can read the graph there, but to visualize it, the visuals give you a pretty good idea that it is a stronger rental market in Ambergris Caye. There are some coastal areas in Costa Rica that we're looking to get the data for as well that are great comps, but overall, the rental market in Ambergris Caye is quite a bit stronger than San Jose. Ambergris Caye does boast the best rental market within the country of Belize. So we're trying to take, top locations in each country when we do these analyses. So just to kind of break down the overview for you guys here, a lot of advantages in both places. They're both beautiful. If it's a lifestyle move, then it really is up to what your guys' personal preference is from a lifestyle standpoint, because there are easy paths to ownership in both countries and they both have different advantages. If it's an investment opportunity, I tend to look, the foundation of the investment is going to be the ownership rights, which Belize has stronger ownership rights, better squatting rights, better tenant landlord rights. So that's kind of a foundation there. Residency is possible in both places. Cost of living is a little bit more affordable in Belize, but you do have advantages in both places. Flights and accessibility, pretty much neutral there. Tourism and the rental market, I would give the tourism market, it's pretty much a wash. It really depends on what metric you're looking at, because Costa Rica gets more tourists, whereas Belize is growing at a faster rate. But from a rental standpoint, you will garner a higher rental return in Belize. So I hope this was a helpful little breakdown for you guys. We are trying to make these as unbiased as possible. If you have any questions, comments, don't forget to put them down here. As always, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to deliver as much good content as we can to you. If there's any videos you want, put them in the comment section as well. And yeah, don't be a stranger, guys. We can't wait to see you down here in Belize.